name is Sarah Bentley Pearson, and I am excited to share my podcast, which features wonderful talent that I've been so lucky to discover in the Southeast. This was born out of a list that I created in 2015 called Sarah's List, and through my work in real estate, which I've been doing since 2005, and styling work, and just my personal life and my personal interests, I've been able to meet so many wonderful people, and I'm excited to share them with you.
So I was thinking about how to start this because I'm always like, so and so. But I want to start out by whoop, whoop. It's 2026. And my sister, Caroline Pearson of Caroline Pearson Interiors, is here with me at my house. And we decided to do it here because it's been cold. And welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I know it's been a long time, but since you moved to Charlottesville, which technically is still in the South,
Technically, right on the border. It's actually Richmond was the seat of the South during the Civil War, so it's like the true South when you break it down.
yeah, well, that's interesting. And I remember that my ex husband, Wes, as you know, didn't want to live in DC because he couldn't say it was the South to his mother, which I
Yeah.
thought was hilarious. But anyway, um, but any, you're, there's so many things I want to talk to you about. And obviously, we talk all the time. And, but I've never asked you these things. So I want to start out by asking, who do you think inspired your eye and made you such a tastemaker?
It's an interesting question. I've never had it phrased that way. I mean, you always think about who your like where your inspiration is rooted, where it really came from. But I would probably say how we grew up and what we were exposed to. I mean, living abroad, having a father that was an antique dealer, um, people interested in art and art history, discussing it, analyzing it, um, which of course we found somewhat torturous as children because kids don't want to discuss that subject matter. But I think I don't know. It's so hard. Like, is it innate or is it something that you were exposed to? Because I remember when we lived in Berlin, rearranging my bedroom at least once a week. I mean, taking bookcases, turning them into a loft bed, like never satisfied with the environment that I was living in. Like, it
But
always
that might be part of our neuroses as well.
absolutely, but I think that that is rooted in creativity, which I'm thankful for. It's it's a gift and it's also that level of or concept of being that I think I was criticized for so long about being overly sensitive to sound, overly sensitive to light, all of these kind of extra sensory things that made me who I am today. I look at that as a gift instead of I don't know, as being something abnormal, like I'm less than in the world because I have these sensitivities. And I really look at it now as aiding me in my work with people that I see things that other people don't see.
Definitely. I think we both really have that. I'm always surveying a space, and I think that appearance, how something looked, beauty, travel, all of that was really important to our parents. They talked to us a lot about, what in their opinion was correct and not correct, and almost mocked things, when they did.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that went in line with that era and Walter being a diplomat too, that there was just a standard of to which things were done.
But Walter didn't really comment about appearances so much like mom and dad.
Yeah.
Dad being later in starting out in finance and then like floundering at that and going into what he loved, which were beautiful antiques and taking us to the stores. But was there anybody in particular? I mean, I know the people in my youth who I admired. Who was it for you that you liked their aesthetic or you loved their house or
Um, it's interesting because I think I didn't really start paying attention to that until I was older and going through design magazines and finding pictures that were really striking to me. Like I remember going through I have no idea what magazine it was. Maybe it was Elle Decor or House and Garden. Who knows? For I don't even think Veranda was out yet, but it was a house that John Saladino had done, and it was, like a beautiful, probably a Montecito estate, and it had a lot of white stone. And I'm not really drawn to cool colors, like cool blues and cool purples, but the house was done in silvers and these beautiful lavenders and colors that I usually wouldn't pick, but it was so striking. And it was that balance of antiquity, feeling very updated and very fresh, and also probably looking like nobody lived in the house, which is always my ideal look. Like I don't want to
Yeah,
go like a junky environment, or there's too much stuff on the too many accessories out, too much art on the walls. It's that refinement that's always um like needs constant tweak.
yes.
That it's hard, like that restraint is just hard because you always think you need more, but what you actually need is less and perfect placement. But it takes a long time to get to that.
Well, and I remember when you moved to Atlanta, you and I both, before you worked for Suzanne Kassler, we were looking at Elle Decor, I think it was, and her house had been published. And you and I were both like, this girl knows what she's doing. I remember there were a lot of accents of pink or something, or pink, a
Was
pink
that her
side.
house?
I
Her
think it was
personal
her
house?
house, and
Yeah.
we were both really drawn to it. And I think,
Yeah, it was
me,
very feminine palette,
it
but
was
not but an edgier design. And I love the work that she does in her own house. Not that I don't love her work,
right.
but I feel like she's a little more urban, a little bit more of a risk taker for her own house.
She really is. I think
Yeah.
people are drawn to her because it's got a formula and it looks really good,
And
but
it's
I
very
is
signature.
very signature, but her house, you know, has a lot more edge. And maybe that's just what we're seeing in some of the published houses versus what she does. But she really, it was very clear she knew what she was doing. And then obviously Melanie Turner,
Mhm.
I can't remember if you started working with her before I became friends with her or vice versa, but I really admire her talent. And then, all the wonderful architects. Do you find yeah, we had a dog that just jumped off the chair, but that's all good.
Yeah, we have 2
Oh,
dogs in here on
okay.
our laps.
But I do believe that, I've always really admired your aesthetic, and our aesthetics are different,
Mhm.
but not completely different. But I've always really admired how you've kept a house. Like before you come to visit, I'm like, oh, I gotta get it ready. She's coming in, and when I go to your house, it's just very detailed. And I think I was telling you in reference to my husband that I have come to this acceptance, like that he really loves to work. And I think that we're like that too, that we just really like to constantly be moving and changing and working and not be idle.
And we love our
And
nests.
yeah, and constantly trying to reinvent the space and how can we improve it constantly. And that
Well, and for me too, it's that fine balance of form and function. I think that I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was mom once when she came to visit when we were still in Atlanta. And she said, your house is so pretty, but it's also so comfortable. And I really took that as an amazing compliment because when you have people over, you want them to be comfortable in your home.
But we also didn't grow up in the era of comfortable
No.
furniture and stuff. That was before Varellin and, that whole there was no restoration hardware, which obviously you know, copies a lot of looks of people or gets designers in that are doing something that has been really already transformed. I always think of Varellin as being a company, the Belgian company that really transformed how people live.
Yes, and it can be beautiful and really well made and comfortable.
Yes, and we grew up in like Chippendale and it being very stiff and
Where everything's an L,
yeah,
like a straight back and a straight seat.
yes. Yes. And
No
so
slouching.
so how are your clients in Charlottesville different to clients in Atlanta, or is there any difference?
I think there's a big difference. I think that, and I have one client who, has a place in New York and has a place in Charlottesville. They've lived a lot of different places, so I think that brings a level of sophistication. Not that the clients aren't sophisticated, it's just a very different, um, level of showiness I think that there is in maybe in LA, Atlanta, Chicago, that there's I think because it's so intellectually based with the university there isn't that same concept of, well, they have it, I have to have it. The way there is in Atlanta. It's quiet luxury, I would say, in Charlottesville. And Atlanta is just newer. Not everybody wants that look, but that's how
Well,
it
and
is.
it's also a great town. Atlanta's a great town for
I mean,
resources.
it's amazing town
Yeah.
for resources.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
miss
there's
it.
just,
Just all the stores and
yeah.
shops and the antique stores. It's just when I'm here, I feel like I'm in heaven. And I drive around and I think like, could I live here again? And I do like Atlanta. It's just it's a very different feel from where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I love both. I would love to have houses actually in both cities.
Yeah.
Go back and forth.
Well, like I
One
said,
month there, 1 week here. Back home for a month, and maybe here for a week.
yeah. I mean, I think that is nice. Just, I think also of us growing up and moving a good bit and living in another country kind of created that wanderlust for us for change. And
And not being afraid of change.
yes,
Welcoming it.
welcoming
Like, okay, let's
change.
do something new.
So speaking of that, like, what do you think of interiors? What are some things that I was thinking about it today, like how I wanted to talk to you about this because every home that you've lived in since you've had your own home, and even before that in apartments, you've always lived really well with all different price points.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I kind of have too. Like,
Absolutely.
we have always figured out how to do the best, or like maybe back then we would go to the flea markets and when we would get a
Into
chest.
IKEA.
Yeah, or IKEA, but we would also put like an antique chest with that and we might paint it, or and you were really good at like the restoration, but I would do it.
Oh, I'll do some labor to make something look pretty. I'll spend hours at it because I'm so driven by it
Yeah.
that it's feeds my soul.
Yeah.
Like I can't live somewhere unattractive. My friend Kimberly and I always joke that if you want to punish us, like you don't need to send me to prison. Just put me in a house with like maroon velour lazy boys and lace curtains. That's that's my punishment. And I couldn't do it,
And like
And
really
plastic
bad
plants.
and really bad food.
Yeah,
Like
and only like TV dinners and plastic plants, like and linoleum floors. I can't. Oh, and really
bad lighting.
really bright LED or fluorescent flickering lights. That's